Welcome to XcooBee. When you operate a website that requires the collection of information from a user, that site also has to be able to provide that information back to the user if it's requested by the user. If a user were to request their data from my site, I have to be able to extract the data from my system, send it to the user, and prove that I've done so. With XcooBee and the XcooBee plugin, this is easy to accomplish. In this tutorial, we are going to cover Subject Access Requests, or SAR. For this video, we will be looking at SARs from the site owner point of view. I'm going to walk you through how to set up your WordPress site to allow your website users the ability to request their data and how to track your users' data requests. First, we need to go to the XcooBee tab within my WordPress dashboard. Once there, I need to install one of the plugins that were initially downloaded when we installed the XcooBee plugin. For that, click on the Add-ons tab. There it is, XcooBee SAR. Click Install Now. Once it installs, click Activate Plugin. Then return to the XcooBee page. Now there's the SAR tab. Click it to view the SAR settings. First, SAR needs to be set up. Down here is the setup information. These two items need to be addressed before SAR is set up correctly. The first is valid API credentials. Those were taken care of in a previous video. Secondly is the callback URL. In a previous video, we enabled endpoint, which provided us a webhook. That is why we have a URL here. Copy this URL and visit the XcooBee dashboard. Once there, click Settings and select Consent Administration. Then click on Options. Paste the URL in the default callback URL field and click Save. Now back in WordPress, to ensure we've done this correctly, we can click Perform Checks. If we're good to go, it will let us know with 2 check marks. There. Alright, now I need to create a button to place on my site. Below Setup is SAR Settings. Here is where we can place the text for the title of the success box and message for when a user successfully submits a SAR. We'll see this in action shortly. Before we move on, when you create a WordPress site, you're given the option of creating a privacy policy page under the Settings area and Privacy. When creating your site, you can create a new privacy policy page, which it will pre-populate with generic information for you. Or you can select an existing page on the site and it will place the generic information on the page you select. I've created my own privacy policy page. That is where WordPress will ask you to place your SAR button. You can do so by clicking the Enable button. Below that are some button options like position, alignment, and size. I will select the top of the page, right in the center, and make the button medium-sized. Now, here is where I can place what text appears on the button. Pretty self-explanatory here. How about click here to request user information? Okay. Now, below is alt text, which is really the text the user sees when they roll over the button. I would recommend having the same text here as well. If you put anything different, it may confuse the user. At this point, I will now check if the button looks and behaves the way I want it to. Okay, here we are on the site, and go to the privacy policy page, and there's the button. Back to settings, let's go to the SAR setup page. Below SAR settings is shortcodes. Let's say your site doesn't have a privacy policy page, or maybe you want a request data button on more than just your privacy policy page, maybe every page. That is where shortcodes come in handy. You can copy this code by clicking here and place it on any page within your site where you'd like a request data button. And if you're handy with CSS, you can tweak the look and feel of the button to match your site's theme or color scheme a little better. Lastly, how can I track these SAR requests? Well, there are a couple of ways to do that. Back in the SAR tab, I can scroll down to the bottom of the page and all requests are tracked there. Their status tells me if the user data has been sent by the system or read by the user. Or maybe the request has failed for one reason or another. It will appear here as well. Let's say a user requests his or her data and then calls you saying they've never received it. Well, I can actually see right here that the user has already read the data report this long ago. Also, there's an area under Tools called Export Personal Data, and you can track requests here as well. You can also track these requests in XcooBee under the Requests tab in the Consent Administration area. So, as you can see, XcooBee makes it easy to let your users request their data, and even easier to provide it to them. Make sure you subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on other XcooBee tutorials.